Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, and what you're looking at are the mounds of trash at the Post-Occupancy Hoarder house that we sold last year. Now, this was probably the craziest property I've ever dealt with in 20 plus years. We had the seller with a post-occupancy agreement they didn't agree to. We had an A-team van showing up. We had massive amounts of just awful DIY. We had one of the biggest cleanups we've ever done. This house was just a crazy mess. And so in this video, we're going to go over the whole process of how we bought it, why the seller wouldn't move, what ended up happening, what happened to the money that was supposed to be split between us, and the sales process, remodel process, and everything that happened afterwards as well. Now, we actually sold this for $390,000 and bought it for $247,000. And on the surface, that looks like a pretty good deal, but not when you actually dive into how much money we spent on it, and we're going to go through those numbers too. Luckily, this property helped me tremendously on social media and YouTube with some revenue and gaining more followers. So in the end, that might have been worth doing this deal, but if I was just doing it on my own without, documenting this whole process for others, it was definitely not worth the headache and stress and possible trauma this property provided. It's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, and I'm pulling up to a house I just bought today, and we're going to see what it looks like. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to go inside it today because the person has a 5-day extended period to get stuff out, but technically we now own that property right there. So I thought I would see how it looks and how their progress is looking. I saw it last Friday. We were able to buy it a week later, and it's gonna have a whole lot of stuff in it. So there was no shyness about the seller leaving stuff, and he was very upfront that he had a problem buying stuff at auctions, and he was going to leave quite a bit of it in the backyard. So we'll drive around the back too. I don't know if you can see much, but it was full, and the house needs some work, but it's not horrible, so that's good. I bought it for $247,000. It's probably worth in the $380,000 range fixed up. We're thinking about $40,000 to $50,000 repairs. It's the first flip we've bought in a while. I know the market's changing, interest rates are going up, but we still aren't seeing crazy deals. Like, we're just almost now getting back to kind of normal markets here. And we used to buy a lot more flips in the last year or two. It's just been way tougher. We've been buying a lot of weird properties instead. So next week, hopefully, we'll be able to show that property and what it looks like. So things did not go as planned. That's me posting an eviction notice, and you can see the A-team van right there beside me. After 5 days, after 10 days, after 15 days, I talked to him almost every day. I stopped by almost every day. That's what got me so many followers on some of my social media, to see if they'd left yet. Every day they said, oh, we'll be out the next day. And so they had told me originally they're just going to leave all this stuff, and he just kept taking trailer load and trailer load of stuff out. And so we posted the eviction notice, and we thought we were going to have to go that route. Eventually, he sort of moved out, but he was owing me $250 a day, up to $5,000 for every day he didn't move out. That's how the post-occupancy agreement worked. And I try to avoid those, if at all possible. But I bought this property through a wholesaler, and that wholesaler had made that agreement for the post-occupancy agreement, and I would have had more money involved. I would have had tighter guidelines on it. But when you're buying through or with a wholesaler, you kind of have to just agree to whatever they agree to and go with what they say, and that's what happened in this case. So it was a little weird, to say the least. And then eventually he said he was out and he was gone. But I show up there, and there's still all this stuff everywhere in that A-team van, and the guy says, oh yeah, I'm helping the seller out. I'm still moving stuff. I'm not out yet. And I said, okay. And he said, yeah, we'll let you know when we're out. And so then the seller came back and claimed he didn't know who the A-team van was. He didn't know that guy. He was some random dude at the house. He had been out days earlier. He didn't owe that money. And that was just a great big lie, obviously, because we saw him back there before. So this is what the house looked like when I first gained possession and was seeing it for the first time after he'd moved a bunch of his stuff out. Now, I saw it before. I viewed it with the wholesaler, had stuff everywhere, and I don't know what I was thinking, but it was a funny joke when I said it would take $40,000 to $50,000 fix up this house. It took way, way, way more, and it looked so much worse once I saw it without all the stuff than when it had a lot of stuff in it. And that's one of the risks of buying properties like this that have lots of stuff, when buying foreclosures, when buying wholesale deals. Some can turn out to be really good, need less work than you think, although that's really rare. In some, there can be just a lot of stuff going on. And a lot of times when you buy a wholesale deal, which is basically another investor comes through, finds the deal, finds the seller. They don't want to sell it on the MLS for various reasons. I have no idea why this guy didn't want to sell this on the MLS. They don't want to pay agents, whatever it is. They get the property under contract and they assign that contract to another investor like me. And so the wholesaler takes a cut. Hopefully I get a good deal. We're both happy. Well, a lot of times with wholesale deals, these sellers aren't using traditional methods to sell the house because it's in really awful shape. Maybe they're trying to hide stuff. They don't want inspections, etc. And so you really have to consider that when you're buying these types of properties. And like I said, I had walked through this and seen it, and it just looks so much worse the second time. It had some cool features like this hidden outlet, the best part of the house. You might remember this one also had a fish tank inside with some crazy stuff going on with that as well. So with the post-occupancy agreement, that was another crazy story. I'll tell you that now, although it kind of concluded itself a year after this first video was taken. So he claimed he had only been like 12 days past or something, even though I had it on video and documented he was like 20 days past the 5 days he was supposed to be out. He claimed he didn't know the A-Team van guy. He claimed all kinds of stuff. So I told him, hey, I think we should agree on this amount. He said, nope, we're only agreeing on this amount. And the title company held that money in escrow, and they can't release it unless we both agree. Well, we never agreed. And the title company kept asking me what was going to happen, if we'd agreed. I said, nope. And then a year after that agreement, the title company emailed me and said, hey, have you guys come to an agreement yet? And I said, nope, we haven't. And they're like, okay, well, we're releasing the full $5,000 to you because the agreement states if you guys can't come to an agreement after a year, it goes to the buyer. I was like, I missed that part of the agreement, but thank you very much. So they sent me a check. I got the money. And then lo and behold, like a week later, the seller was contacting me, calling me, saying, hey, we just got notice that the money was released to you. Can we please meet and talk about it and figure out how much money we get back out of this? And I may have lost his number. I'm not sure what happened, but for some reason we could not touch base after that. So if you're going to lie about how things happened, sometimes things don't work out the best for you is what I have to say about that. But here you can see what the property looks like. And honestly, it wasn't that bad first walking through it. I expected it until really we trashed out everything too and got all of this out as well and could see what we were dealing with. And it was just the stuff behind the walls and the things they had done that cost us so much money. They had DIY'd all the electrical, the plumbing, the HVAC, and just destroyed this whole house. And I know once I showed that, a lot of people told me, you need to just tear this down and start over. And I could see why people would say that, the sentiment of everything needing to be, redone. However, it still doesn't make sense to tear down a house and start over because it costs so much money to frame, vent everything. Like there's still some stuff you can use, the roof. It would be way, way more expensive to tear down and rebuild than rehab like we did. It's very rare tearing down makes sense unless the house is just completely awful, which we've had before, or you're like building a much bigger, fancier house in a very expensive area that can support that. So we walked through it, tried to figure out where to start, what to do. And the first thing was just removing all the trash because there was so much stuff, not only inside, but outside. And It was a little disappointing too. Not a lot disappointing, just a little bit, because when I first saw the property, there was so much stuff here. I mean, there was lawn equipment, all kinds of different stuff in the backyard that would have some value, right? It would have a little bit of value, whether you garage sale it or pawn it, or there's a beautiful built-in fish tank, which was a massive hazard. There was some value there. Well, all that time they took, they're pretty much taking everything of value and just leaving all the trash. And so we didn't really have any way of recouping any of our costs for the trash out either. Not that there would have been a ton, but maybe a little bit. This setup here, I'm surprised, did not catch the place on fire. Somehow it survived, but it had a drain built into the floor that ran outside, and it was hooked into the plumbing for the house. Now, I have a fish tank in my office. I've had fish tanks at my house. You don't need to do that, right? There was no need to go that crazy, but they did that with everything in this property and pretty much decreased the value with every DIY project they started and never really finished. Different doors all over, just, couple of new windows here and there, but they were moldy and destroyed. Trim missing everywhere. It was just crazy, all the stuff we found in this property. The heat had not been connected for who knows how long. The gas meter was off this property when we got it. The furnace was not connected. The water heater, they got a fancy tankless water heater. It was not connected. So I think they were just living here without heat, without hot water, possibly without water at all for probably years. And just crazy to see what they're living in and what they had done to this property. Again, you can kind of see it might have looked like that when they bought it. I can't remember. That crazy mirror. A lot of people want us to keep that mirror. Some people want us to get rid of it. I think we just hung a new mirror over it and had the best of both worlds. So you have kind of a more normal mirror and then the crazy funky one underneath if you want it. Now, we thought about keeping some of this bathroom for about 4 seconds and then changed our mind and gutted most of it, except for the mirror, as we said. And it gets weirder in the basement, don't worry. But yeah, they're just, like, even the closet. They even messed up the closet. Like, what are you doing? Just weird stuff everywhere. And then, yeah, there was weird stuff in the garage, too. Just constant bombardment of weirdness in this house. Now, let's show you the basement. This brings back some memories. I went in this house quite a bit, by myself, checking out progress, looking at things, and just, it was a weird vibe property, that's for sure. This is what we turned into kind of the master bedroom. It looked way better than this when we were done. We'll show you all of that. And again, so much stuff everywhere. And then this bathroom, we'll show you that they completely destroyed the bathroom as well. There you go. Well, sorry, we'll show it, I promise. There's the custom building supplies that they had and used some of and just put random stuff everywhere. Here's the bathroom. So there's your giant tub over here that is not installed, not hooked up, not in the least connected correctly. Your random sheetrock everywhere. This kind of fancy vanity that ended up being broken, not attached at all, connected to anything. The crazy windows, the just pipes and wires running all over. I think we found a safe down kind of built into the floor. Nothing in it, of course. But yeah, there was a lot of work. And just looking through this again gives me, reminder, if there's a house just full of stuff, assume the worst. Assume the worst you possibly can underneath it. You don't always assume someone's going to destroy all the wiring and plumbing, but they do. And here's that water heater right there that was never hooked up. I believe it's electric too. So like the house didn't even really have the power to handle that water heater, and that's probably why they never hooked it up. And this might be a case where they were doing some kind of construction work or jobs or visiting job sites and just getting all kinds of random supplies from different job sites that obviously was not hooked up, wasn't working, and just tried to make all the random stuff they found or possibly stole work on this house. And it didn't work, to say the least. So there was a lot going on. And there was a lot we worked with and tried to make right. There was some stuff we just couldn't quite get, ideal. But seeing what we had to work with to start with, I'm not too sad about how it turned out. And this was the weird workshop room. I always have to look at the DVDs. I don't know why. There's never anything good. Not that you even need DVDs anymore, but one of my habits. They literally covered up windows in this room. There's one window, and someone broke into that window during our rehab process too, probably friends of him trying to get whatever they wanted to get. There's a window back there behind that wall that was covered up, but we kind of made this also another bedroom with a closet just to give people multiple options in the basement for bedrooms. But yeah, there's was that a locker? Oh, weird stuff all over. Speakers were installed into the ceiling panels, and the beadboard everywhere. This was just absolutely full of tools when I first saw it. Just crazy amounts of tools, the whole thing. So they did take most of the stuff, like I said, that had any value at all, and left all the junk and then some. They may have brought junk in from other places too and left it here for us, which wasn't very nice. Another reason why I wasn't sad that we got the $5,000 and they didn't. So that was the house. We kind of showed you most of the backyard, but there's also the garage, which was crazy. And so this is under the deck and back, and that's the window that was boarded up. They covered up, and then they had this weird cubby hole thing on another side of the deck, and it had insulated foil and sleeping bag. This whole place was just crazy, crazy weird. And this is kind of back on the other side of the house where the garage is over here. So many good lawn tools. A lot of good rocks too. And then you can see the beautiful deck, and yeah. The one good window in the whole place was broken by someone trying to break in. That was cool. So here's the garage, and someone had tried to break into there as well. And we find that a lot when we buy weird houses like this. There always seem to be people trying to break into them. Who knows? Probably, maybe because there were things being sold at that house that they thought might still be in the house and they wanted really badly. Who knows? But yeah, lots of random stuff. Of course, the garage door was broken. Of course, they had weird insulation all over. And then, of course, they had a giant printing press thing. Don't think it's a printing press, but yeah, a lot of people said, oh, that's worth so much money, you should sell it. And then, yeah, they're worth a lot of money when you first buy them. After that, nobody wants them. So obviously, they took everything of value they could. If they'd left something here, it was for sure not going to be valuable. And then this was really weird too. And we never really did figure out what this was for. But, oh yeah, the central vac system, I forgot. They put in a central vac system that was never hooked up either, along with their massive wires and different stuff. So we had to take all of that out. I forgot about the central vac. Man, this place was prime. But there was a box that they had built into the inside of the garage with really no access. And that was a strange one too. We really never did figure out what that was about or what that was for. And there's just kind of a weird hole in it. I stuck my phone in and never really knew, what that thing was supposed to be. Maybe it's for a speaker, but there was nothing on the inside of the house. This showed a grate or vent or anything. It was just all sheetrock. So just a weird thing. So first step was getting the house trashed out, cleaned up, and that took a long time. And we actually used a contractor to do that who was kind of a handyman, claimed specialties were trashing out. He'd done some other work for us, done it fairly cheap, done a decent job. After this, he may have been pissed at us or never wanted to work with me again because he gave us an astronomical bill. I know there's a lot of stuff here to be trashed out and done, but I think he charged us $13,000 in labor to get everything out. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff, but we paid for the dumpsters. I think we had 11 dumpsters at $400 and some a piece, which obviously adds up to be quite a bit. But we could have had our own guys charge less to do that. He was charging us like over $50 an hour for a couple people to do trash out work, which he had never charged us that much before. And we just kind of assumed he was going to charge us the same rates he'd charged us before on other jobs he just recently done. But he gave us that bill, and we pretty much could tell he was planning on never working with us again, and he hasn't, and that was that. So, I mean, we could have fought it. We could have, gone toe-to-toe with him to reduce that, but in the end, we let him go, never worked with him again, and hopefully, that money helped him out in some way in the future. Who knows? So this is what it looks like after everything was out, and that's when we really got to see a glimpse of what we had to work with, or what we did not have to work with as far as weirdness going on. It's a nice fan. We didn't want to keep anything in here, but there were just weird holes in the ceiling and walls all over. Like I said, the electrical was crazy and weird, trim missing everywhere. The bathroom, like I said, was just awful. Had to redo, all their DIY. They probably, who knows if they spent much money on their DIY work, or if they just got materials for free somewhere. But if they did spend money on it, it was money just spent to waste more money. Because like I said, we had to get rid of everything, and maybe that's why they got those materials and stuff, because they're all broken and messed up to begin with, and they're just trying to make them work. But they obviously didn't know how to install anything or do anything the correct way either. So that just made it more difficult for us. If they just hadn't done anything, this would have been an easy, simple flip. But everything they did made it all so much worse. And so we had our, huge, almost $18,000 in trash out costs, not off to a good start. And then we still had to do plumbing, electrical, HVAC, kitchens, baths, flooring, paint, windows, doors, sheetrock. There was a lot to be done. And like I said, just so many things to fix and so many questions about why they did the things they did. So for plumbing, I think we ended up spending like $6,000. I have a long list of all of our costs, and I didn't want to go through and add up every single thing itemized in different groups, but give you the big main stuff, and then we have some big numbers at the end we'll show you. Electrical was around $8,000, I think, for everything we did here. HVAC was like $9,000, I think, because we added an air conditioner, had to redo the furnace, redo some of the venting. Luckily, the roof was okay, but then, we had all kinds of material costs from Home Depot for different stuff. That's where the safe was buried. I don't remember, was there a safe in there? I don't know if there was actually a safe there or just a spot for it. And if there was a safe there, it was just open and empty and broken like everything else. It wasn't like an exciting safe where it's locked and you spend 5 weeks trying to get it open and then open it up and discover that it's empty still. So here's the furnace room cleaned up a little bit. This back room cleaned up a little bit with most of the junk out of there. There you can see the window they boarded up. All the beadboard gone. Well, not all of it. A lot of it gone. Yeah. Then we get upstairs to its beautifulness. And yeah. So when we had this work done, we used some of our best contractors. So we've got a number of different contractors we use, and we have some employees who work for us full time as well. And we've got a crew that is just very quick. They do what they say they're going to do. They do what we say. They listen to us. And we wanted them working on this house because we knew it was a massive project and there'd be so much to do. And if we had someone else working on it, it could literally take years. It already took a long enough time for us to get through all of this, and maybe I'll try and give you some time frames on that. But having them work on it definitely saved. You can see the fish tank was gone. We had to go through and do a lot of plumbing work there to fix those lines and pipes they did. Good thing we kind of took out a lot of the stuff because there was mold and junk behind almost everything. Did we save the tub? I wonder if we might have saved that tub. That tub might have been okay. That might have been one of the few things we actually saved in this house. But literally just getting everything out, getting it open, think there was tint on a lot of the windows too, if I remember right. Just getting it brighter made such a huge difference. It felt so much better because it just felt like a weird, creepy. I mean, it still felt weird and creepy, but so much less weird and creepy after all the stuff was gone, and we got it more to a kind of a blank slate. We thought about saving the kitchen again for about 15 seconds until we looked at it and realized there's a hodgepodge of different cabinets and counters and appliances and different stuff going on. So we redid that. One question we had there is the sink was against the back wall and not against the window. And we're like, you've got to have it against the window. But in a project like this, some people see the scope of work and all the things you're doing, and they're just like, why don't you just do everything? Do every single thing you possibly can to make the house perfect. And even though it's a huge project and you're spending tons of money, that doesn't mean it's okay to just keep spending as much money as possible and just spend it all. You still have to be conscientious of where you're spending money, how you're spending it, how you can save money, how you can keep the budget as close to reasonable as possible. So I think a lot of people get into that with business and real estate, where it's like, well, I've already spent this much money. What's another 20 grand? Or what's another 30? Well, another 20 grand is another 20 grand. That's a lot of money. So if you can avoid spending that, by all means, do that. That was all the hazardous materials they left us. So many buckets of hazardous materials. We do have a place that takes it. Like on Tuesdays, they'll only take so much of it. So we kind of had to take it in different trips. That was a pain, but we got rid of it. And so many dumpster loads of stuff just over. Oh yeah, that's a hot tub that was left for us. It was also broken, of course. Like everything here, it was all broken. Some tires, of course, they left us some tires. If you don't know me, I have a long, long history with tires. So much better after the trash out. We spent way too much money, but at least we were making progress and getting closer to having this place somewhat livable. They added the stone and rock, and of course they did a bad job on that. So we basically took off a lot of that we could, repaired and fixed other parts that we could, but a lot of work there. You can see wood rot below because they had just put some rock over it without sealing it or treating it. Siding taken off for their air conditioning. Yes, over and over and over again, stuff they did to make this house less valuable. It was insane. And so much better in here with just the skis and not the crazy. We still had the crazy wires. We had to take care of that, but all the other crazy stuff inside. And here's the property after some remodel progress and making so much progress. But I want to give you some timelines of how this all happened. So we bought it October 21st, 2022. It was vacated, or we got possession of it, November 11th, 2022. The trash out progress happened for quite a while. And we basically completed the trash out like December 20th. It took a really long time. And then we thought about, should we sell it as is once it's trashed out? Should we remodel it? I figured it's probably worthwhile to remodel it. We'll make more money than selling it as it was. And then we had to wait for our guys to clear up and have some time to come see it. So that took quite a while as well. And then eventually we got to a point where work was being done. And that was kind of February, March, where we really started to get going on the work and the rehab. Now, we wanted to do electrical, plumbing, HVAC first and get the mechanicals done before we moved into the actual remodeling, so that we can kind of let those guys do the damage, make holes, create problems before we actually come fix stuff. And that took some time to get all those guys in there. Then we got our guys back in there to clean up everything, fix it up. Basically, we had it finished and done around October, November of 2022. So basically it took a year to go through this whole process. We sold it December of 2023. And the sale was actually one of the easiest sales we've had in a long time, which made me feel a little bit better about this project and helped us out some on this, because that's all we needed after all the money we spent and time we spent, was to have like a sale fall through, or find crazy inspection items, or have some other craziness happen on this house after all the work and time we spent on it and money we weren't making. So that was at least one positive from this whole process. And then, like I said too, a lot of positives in all the followers I gained. And I mean, I don't make a massive amount of money from social media or YouTube, but I'm sure this whole series and all the videos I showed probably made me around $10,000, maybe more. And then, you know, gave me a lot of future viewers too, who would help give us some revenue and drive some revenue to stuff as well. So that was nice as well. But yeah, we fixed closets, we fixed doors, we fixed trim, sheetrock, texture. There was so much to do, and all of it just added up tremendously to a point, you know, where it's almost rebuilding the house, but not quite. And like I said, it took a while. It took a long time to get all of this done. And you have to remember, too, this is not the only project we're doing. So we don't do one project at a time. You know, we've got between usually 4 and 10 flips we're actively working on at once. Plus, we've got rental properties that we might be rehabbing, fixing up. We might have commercial properties we're working on, rehabbing, fixing up. I've got businesses that we might be working on, rehabbing, fixing up. So there's only so many hours to go around. And it would be nice if we could just stick, you know, everybody we need on this property full-time all at once, but it just doesn't work that way. So it took some time, but we were making progress. And eventually, we knew we'd be done with this place. And I can say now, after we got some paint out on the walls, after we got some new windows in, the texture, the holes were gone, the crazy wiring was gone, after it had heat, after there was weird lights that turned on by themselves all the time. We might have still had one of those, but after most of those were out, it stopped feeling so weird. It started feeling like a real house, and that was nice. I think that might have been one of the weird lights that turns off and on, but felt so much better. And here's the room where we kind of added a big closet on the one side. So this could be a bedroom or a family room, lots of storage, and just felt a lot better. Finally, we got to a point where the house was done and ready to sell, and this is what it looked like. So to give you an idea of what some of our costs were and why you shouldn't take on massive projects like this, our total repairs for all the electrical and contractors and materials and work and everything was $104,000. Like I said, it was a joke when I said we'd repair it for $40,000 to $50,000. We had $22,000 in closing costs, paying another agent, those expenses. Because I am a realtor, I own a brokerage, but when I sell a house, we will almost always pay a buyer's agent. That's just, we get the most money that way, so we have those costs. We have title insurance, some other costs there as well when selling costs. And of course, we had financing costs and utilities. I should correct myself. So that $104,000 or whatever it was includes our insurance. It includes property taxes. It includes utilities while we own the house. So it's not just repairs. It includes a lot of our carrying costs. We had the house for 14 months. So those really add up. So there were a lot of costs there as well. And then, of course, we had costs for financing costs because we finance these properties. I unfortunately don't have millions and millions of dollars sitting around. I wish I did, maybe at some point in my life, but not yet. So we do finance most of our projects. So we had $28,000 in interest and $5,700 in other financing costs on this property using private money as well. A lot of that because we held the property so long, those costs just add up over time to be a lot of money. So this is what we had into it, and you'll have to excuse all my weird numbers. Some have a rounded up, some aren't. But we bought it for $247,000. Closing costs $22,000 for selling and buying and commissions. Repairs $104,000, but again, that includes utilities and insurance and taxes and some other stuff in there. Our financing costs were $33,000. The escrow money we got back, right? That small little bonus was $5,000. So total into this property was about $401,000, which means when we sold it for $390,000, it did not end up being a very good flip considering how much time and effort we put into it. Now, of course, some of the positives are we brought a house back from the dead. Hopefully we improved the neighborhood, although the neighbors never talked to us or looked at us. I don't know if they were traumatized by these guys or thought we somehow knew them or something, but I tried to say hi or wave at them, and they just kind of quickly ran into their house like they saw a ghost. So that's okay. We still made the house better. We made the neighborhood better. We supplied a lot of money for the economy and our contractors and workers and different stuff. We, of course, paid the county some taxes, so you're welcome, county, and city, too. This house to be done, and then to come out and find, like, hidden squirrels in the wall or something that we missed somehow, and just now you have to tear the whole thing out. Like, I was just waiting for something like that. So not having the inspection, having a pretty quick close worked out pretty well. I don't know if the person was just waiting for this house, but the agent just said this is their perfect house. They want this house. It's perfect. They don't even care about an inspection. They're just going to buy it no matter what. And so we thought, thank you. Thank you for helping us out on this. So you can see even properties with a ton of room, a ton of potential, can turn out to not be good deal makers. And in our experience on doing flips that need a ton of work, we have this one. We had the foundation, the crazy foundation house. We've had some other ones, hoarder houses with tons of stuff, just places that need massive amounts of remodel. We had a house where we had to buy part of a neighbor's lot because we had to put in a septic and there wasn't enough room. Anytime we do those big projects, it doesn't seem to matter how much room for profit there is. They don't end up being great deals just because it takes so much time. There's so much stuff that happens and so much that can go wrong. We do much better on the easy, quick flips, although they don't provide nearly as much video content or drama as some of these others. Now, some of my crazy rental properties, like the complex, the compound, the Ocho, the depot we're working on right now, which is a crazy eightplex, those have turned out to be decenter deals, but we're dealing in, buying properties for, $400,000 that might be worth $800,000, $900,000, buying properties for, $500,000 that might be worth $1 million. We have just massive amounts of room for rehabbing units and taking on these problems and projects that come about. So it's tougher to do that with flips. A lot of investors, or even people who maybe aren't investors who want to flip houses, don't know about all these costs or what everything will cost and how much it all can add up. And so they'll take on these projects and lose money. And it doesn't leave a lot of room for other investors who know what it actually takes. And on this house, if you were a homeowner or a new investor who was hiring a general contractor to do all this work for you, you easily could have spent $200,000 on this job when they add in all of their costs and the money they're spending and everything, and plus their room for profit and different things, or $150,000. So, like I said, it could have been way, way worse, and it's probably better that we took on a project like this and not someone else who was less experienced, at least as far as the general, state of the world goes. All right, that's the property. That's how it turned out. It was quite the project, had quite the amount of views and follows and a little bit of revenue come in from social media, so that made me feel a little better about it. Quite the weird property, and we learned a lot from it, that's for sure. So we'll try not to take on anything like this in the future, although I probably will. And if I do take on something like this in the future, I'll make sure I have even more room in it, which makes it hard for us because other people will see the profit and think there's profit there when there might not be. Or maybe we'll just keep buying these crazy, gnarly multifamily or commercial properties where you do have a little bit more room can add value through tenants and different things that help make it worthwhile. And the rents are a little higher too if you end up hanging on to them and renting them instead of selling them right away. All right, thanks for watching. Let us know what you think. And of course, we'll be back with more of our businesses, rentals, flips, commercial properties, and crazy things I managed to get myself into.